Hello everyone and welcome back to Remains to be Seen, the D&D show where one group's past could determine the other group's future. I am your host and DM, Rover Elliott, pronouns he, they, and today I am here with...
Annie Ruby, she, her.
Elizabeth Simpson, she, her.
Jo Mendacium, all the pronouns.
And Mirah G, she, her.
And who are you guys playing?
Josie, with the newly slightly elevated blood pressure.
Corwin, pretending she's never heard of Apollo, no never.
Viktor, I'm going to figure Corwin's shit out, Valthayne.
And Una, who is wondering why is everyone obsessed with Alex?
I really like the name.
Well,
Whoa. I know.
Hey Annie, do you want to explain why everyone's obsessed with Alex?
Sure. Well, I can just give a quick recap of the last episode and let people fill in the blanks. We, on the way over from Krillis's apartment to find a library, we were headed to Radcam. And on the way, Corwin took a look at the newspaper that Una was carrying, saw some fancy golden lines and other colors in it. Didn't realize we couldn't see it. We kind of shared meaningful looks with each other about not seeing it. Viktor then said, "Let me see your eyes." Saw some evidence of a previous Apollo connection there, but Corwin is so far evasive. We got a lore dump in the newspaper, which I don't need to repeat here. Upon arriving outside the Radcam, we rolled a series of insane natural 20s to get more lore than we ever should have.
I hate all of you.
With a nat 20 in history, Una remembers Radcam, knows she is supposed to be there, knows a lot of things about what's inside of it, is unfamiliar with why there would be guards surrounding it, which there are now. Jo, with a nat 20 in history, knows that the reason there are guards there is because the entirety of Radcam is filled with information about the cult of Hades, which is no longer public knowledge, and the authorities are attempting to restrict access to at all costs. So, of course, we are going to try to break into them. Una has mentioned some tunnels. We go into the library and have where I get my natural 20 moment, looking at the stained glass decoration, stained glass windows around. We see evidence of dragonborn priests of all different cults, but there is no Hades and never was. And there are very, very few and only subtle references to Poseidon in there, which Josie flipped them off upon seeing them. And once we were inside, Vic starts stealing everything that's not nailed down, as is their way. And Corwin and Una are talking about trying to find more info about the spider corpse puppet thing that we saw on the train, at which point Corwin mentions Alex, which perks up Vic's ears. And meanwhile, while all that is going on, Josie says, "You know what? You guys all like books more than I do." So Josie goes outside, at which point some secrets ensued that only Rover and I on this call know, and you know, but the rest of the players in here do not as of recording. So you have a knowledge advantage on the players at this point, listener. Hope you enjoy that.
So, we pick back up inside the library, and I'm gonna have to tell the listeners, I got a request from a certain book-obsessed character who really wants to steal books, and I think I would like that character to roll me a d20 to see how many books they will steal, perhaps. In the meantime, I roll a perception check for anyone looking.
Oh, I don't get to roll stealth. Oh, shit. Okay.
No. I don't want any modifiers. I just want you to steal books. How many?
15.
15 books.
The dice know.
All right. What type of books are you stealing? Because to remind listeners, you have a pocket of holding for just specifically for books in your clothes. Yeah,
for books and paperwork, because there's also blueprints in there now.
Yes.
So I was at the self-help shelf, and I specifically said I stole 4 books for each of our emotional problems, and then what's the section closest to that, Ro? Like, because I was beelining towards Corwin and Una, anyways.
I would say if you are beelining past them, you might have, before Corwin got there, have gone past the religious text you might also have gone past. Give me a perception check, actually.
12.
You're going past, because next to like the religious texts, there are texts about different types of monasteries where you can at some point see a book that has on the cover of it the same type of mask that the orange tabaxi has. You can see that on that.
Mine.
You want to take one of those as well?
Yeah, that and everything that looks adjacent to that. I kind of want to figure out the tabaxi shit, yes.
Yeah, so you can find stuff about the tribes of mercy. And what I like to do with books is definitely for the ones Viktor wouldn't have read, but for every other character, is that if you spend a certain amount of time reading it, roll me a check and then you can get proficiency in knowledges about that specific fact. For the listeners, you may or may not have heard about me doing that with books that the protectors have gotten as well. So, yeah, you take a couple of books of those about the Tribes of Mercy. Do you want to take anything about the other monasteries or more just that bit?
No, I think that bit. So I have 4 self-help books, help books, and then I guess 9 books about. No, what did I roll? 15 or something?
Do you want books of Apollo to figure out what's going on with?
No mean suggestions.
I will take 1 book about
We're playing
Apollo.
D&D together. What do you mean no mean suggestions?
Okay, 1 book about Apollo. For listeners' benefit, I do have a separate list of inventory that's just shit that's in the pocket of holding.
Good. Need to know that. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Okay. Other than that, what do you guys want to do in the library before Josie comes back?
Well, is it gonna be in that span of 10 minutes as well?
Yeah. I'll say so.
Well, I will let Lizzie go first.
I think Joe has the floor here. Corwin had gotten, was just going to a shelf. Corwin was ending the conversation and moving toward any shelf.
So, you picked up the Book of Apollo, and then we're like, oh shit, there's an Apollo book. You close it, put it back, and you turn your head, and Vic's right there.
Corwin startles back, like, make a noise.
Very deliberately, without breaking eye contact, taking that Book of Apollo and slipping it inside the book.
Corwin gives the biggest eye roll in the whole world and turns and walks away.
I'm gonna go chill with Una, I think. For the remainder of the 10 minutes.
Yep. May I suggest something very much above table, and then y'all can see what you want to do with it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that Lizzie and Annie as Josie and Corwin also want to, I think, find, if at all, research about the missing people.
Yes.
And I think Una and Viktor really want that knowledge of Hades.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys all staying together and doing whatever you want as a group, or do you guys want to split up in 2 groups that I can follow?
Split the party.
If people are leaving Una unattended, she will probably just walk by herself. Like, that's why I said, like, people can go before me.
Yeah, I'm down for a party split. At some point, when we think an appropriate amount of time has passed, Corwin would probably go out and see what's up with Josie.
I think if you were even headed out to find Josie, Josie would be just about to be making her way back into the library. And also, I think it would be fantastic if, based on something that happened in the secret conversation, if Josie comes back in and the party is already immediately split. But before I even get back in there, you 2 have already gone off to the tunnels.
I was thinking
Sounds
above
good.
table that we might, if you are up for it, follow Corwin and Josie while Una and Viktor are just walking away.
Exactly.
Because Una started walking and Viktor's like, okay.
Here we go.
Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful. And we start with Josie and Corwin. So you guys meet halfway in the entrance.
Hey, I was just coming to check on you.
Yeah, it's just smoking. It's fine. All right, where are we standing? What are we looking at? What have we found so far?
I mean, Vic's doing what Vic does best and is looking at all the books. He and Una just have gone a bit further into the stacks. I really want to get to the newspaper archives. I want to look at whatever information we can find on the missing people.
Yeah, that's a little bit more my speed as well. Let's head that way.
I would say you guys are going into a different hallway than...
Yeah, we'll head opposite directions.
Yeah, the opposite directions. Yeah, you guys can find your way to an archival space with literally just newspapers from, I'd say, the last 50 to 100 years even.
Nice.
Like, it's a large space.
Oh, go ahead, Annie.
So one thing I was going to ask is, Corwin has mentioned Aaliyah being her sister, right? Like,
yes.
That's something Josie would probably be aware of? Okay.
Yes.
So I think that Josie's going to say, Corwin, do you know exactly when your sister went missing, or at least when that disappearance would have been noticed in the newspapers? We start grabbing French papers from around that time, and then English papers from around Johnny's disappearance, and work outward from there, I think.
I don't have an exact date. It started being reported. I mean, she lives in Paris and I was in London, so
right.
It started. I noticed that she wasn't answering my letters. Usually, she writes back really quickly. So, kind of end of September. We're talking, sometime that last week or 10 days of September was when I started noticing that she wasn't answering my letters. It was reported in the newspapers pretty soon after that as well.
Okay. And I guess Johnny would have been around the same time, so let's gather anything we have with political news from that week and see if we find anything that seems suspicious.
Yeah, sounds good. Also, I was just going to say, I think while they're alone and while they're I imagine it would, I've seen newspaper archives, right? I imagine it would take a while of rifling through.
Yeah.
So Corwin would probably kind of glance over at Josie just as she's going through newspapers and just be like, hey, by the way, I just wanted to check in with you about all the bounty hunters being dissolved stuff. I'm not going to pretend to understand the context, but it seemed like that was some pretty big news to you.
Well, yes and no. It's been a risk for a long time. I didn't know that the Six were going to try to move on us that fast, so, listen, anyone who's been around long enough, anyone who's been paying any attention in the Bounty Hunters has a game plan for what to do in exactly this contingency. Everyone, it seems, except possibly Safra. But, it's only by virtue of the fact that you're so new that you don't have one yourself, but you're in good hands with Vic and I, at least.
Oh, that's fair. Honestly, I'm not really worried about my position here, but it just... I imagine it's going to be a bit harder for you two. I don't know, it just seemed like your game plan and, Brian's game plan might have been different. I just wanted to make sure you were okay.
Yeah, Brian and I have a lot of history, and he knows my brother, and that's how I know him, and, I was kind of hoping that he would see things a little bit differently than he seems to, and but I've always been prepared to cut any ties I needed to. It's an unfortunate fact of the lifestyle that we have, so...
Yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, I'm sorry that like I said, just from the little bit that I know, I'm sorry it seemed like you didn't have your back in the way that you would have hoped. I hope you know that, if there's anything we can do, if there's anything I can do, we're here for you.
I appreciate that. And in return, I want to say, I have, of course, clocked the evasion of all things Apollo, and I just want you to know, if there's anyone you don't have to worry about asking you questions or getting you involved with religion, it's me. So stick close to my side, you'll be all right.
Thanks. I genuinely can't tell you how much I appreciate that.
Fix nosy.
That was a middle finger from Joe.
This is an incredible middle finger from Joe.
Any Ruby when I get you.
While this conversation happens, can I have someone roll me a percentile dice? See how many minutes you spend on...
I have to use a percentile?
Yes!
My 100-sided metal sphere that weighs about 3 to 5 pounds here.
Beautiful.
This is going to make a great noise. Let's see
It
what
is a
happens.
die and a weapon.
It's going to have to be... Actually, it's not going to make a great noise because I'm going to have to roll it on the carpet. It's the only place I have space. So. That is an 81.
So, while they spend 81 minutes trying to find every single knowledge that they can about stuff,
Let's go.
I'm
You guys
gonna
have all
move
day, don't
to the 81 minutes that happened on the other side, if you would
Plenty of time to break into shit.
So, the intruders,
Excuse me.
the intruders,
They have the bird.
tell me what the plan is.
Sorry, I was just very happy that we don't have that bird with us. 'Cause
I feel like Vic has just caught up to Una after stashing the last Apollo book into his pocket and be like, so there's tunnels, I heard.
yeah, I just need to have a inconspicuous. And she pointedly looks at Vic. Look around. And I really do hope you're intending on returning those books, unlike the one from Manchester. And then she'd just start walking around and looking.
Behind her back, he's flipping her off. He's like,
Can I have a perception check from Una?
Of course you can. That would be 19 plus my modifier of 6. I am getting a 25. Please.
Okay, now that makes sense. As you start saying, I just need to know where it is, and you look around, and it's almost like it comes from your mind down to the floor, and this blue glow that you saw back in when you were walking around starts just for your sight, leading you through the entire place. And it starts as a little glow, and then they actively also become actual footprints that start walking around through the space that you could follow towards the tunnels.
Few questions. Who else is around? Because obviously it's a public library. Who else is around?
Let's find out. There are quite some people in the area that you are currently at. The footsteps actually also walk around people to get to new areas. It seems like no one's really paying attention to you. There's maybe 10 to 15 people in this room, and a couple more further down the hall. And the librarian's also there.
Second question. Is it the same foot size as Una's?
Interesting. Give me an investigation roll. If you can tell.
If I can tell. I have rolled a 9 plus a modifier of 5, which would be a 14.
Could potentially be. It's definitely not the same type of shoes that you're currently wearing from the shoes that you got from the Wanted Dead. But if you follow them and you actually step on parts of the remaining stuff, you can see that they are indeed at least the same size as yours.
Okay. For the description, upon looking around, noticing how many people are there, stuff like that, once Una's focusing on that glow, her eyes just glaze over with the same hue, and she just says to Viktor, this way. No, I think it's this way, just this way.
Mm-hmm.
And she would start following the footsteps. You said that they're going around people. She wouldn't just follow them step into step, trying to avoid the obstacles the best she can without losing the trace of it, and kind of follow. Also, if she walks past any shelves that look like administrative archives, she probably would make a stop over in there.
Give me a 1 or 2.
2.
Nope.
Nope.
Not this way.
Not this way. Yep, just follows the footsteps, hoping that Vic is following as well.
Oh yeah, with a good amount of distance. Like, he is trying to look like someone who's searching for something in the shelf, on the shelves, and while having an eye on Una and following along.
Yeah, she's also like not trying to make it like like a following the scent kind of person, just walking around.
Yeah, so it walks through the entire halls until you get to a sort of like congregation room.
Mm-hmm.
And the footsteps walk towards one of the benches that are there, and then they fade into them, and the glow of the footstep being there still there, but they stop in there. Yeah,
facing the bench or facing away from the bench? Facing the bench. Okay. Just come up to the bench. Another glance over of like how many people are around, just being like, oh yeah, I'm just a tourist, don't mind me.
Give me a stealth check.
Ooh. So that's an 18 plus a modifier of 6. That is a 24? Yes.
You can see the same thing that was back in Johnny's shop when there was something that you can like move or twist around. You can see like a very faint line of that being in the into the pine floors around that bench.
But is there anyone else around? That was my question.
There is not. Not in this room.
Not in this room. Relays everything. Like, she would not mention the blue hue or anything like that. Hedomina would have been very flat, actually. And just kind of like throwing instructions to Vic, going like, this bench might be leading somewhere. I just need to figure out how to. Don't remember right now, but could appreciate some help. There we go.
Before we get into that room, can I ask how long we were walking through the library to there? Was it about 10 minutes?
Yeah, 5 to 10 maybe, yeah.
If it was 10, he would have on the way started to ritually casting comprehend languages, because I feel like we might need it.
Ooh.
Like mumbling to himself to disguise the spell, but yeah.
Okay. First of all, tell me how you cast it. Second of all, what does it do to the listeners? And for me, because I know the main things, but I want to know the specifics.
So it's like, it's VSM, so semantic...
Verbal, semantic, and material.
And material.
Material. We don't do material components because it's just a thing of like, oh, you need all this. They already have it.
So I feel like the movement or the gesture and the words would be things muttering under his breath, tracing the lines of the book's spines, and as the spell catches only to his eyes, words that he did not understand before shift, as if you see shadows shifting in the flickering light of a candle. And they suddenly make sense to him. And what it does, it's for 1 hour. For the duration, you understand the literal meaning of any language that you hear or see signed. You also understand any written language that you see, but you must be touching the surface on which the words are written. It takes about 1 minute to read 1 page of text. The spell doesn't decode symbols or secret messages. I would also not understand, like... idioms or something like that. It's like a very literal translation. But yeah, arriving at the bench, I guess. Yeah. So that's a bench. What's the mechanism like? Yeah, like you don't remember?
No, I'm just gonna, and then she would crouch to have a look at the bench. Just maybe, I don't, like, there's no one around us, and I wanted to stay that way, so if you could keep an eye out. Or if you want to investigate, I'll keep an eye out. I just kind of want both of us to cover each other that way, if that makes sense.
Give me a perception check, Una.
Okay, I'm going to do something that I haven't had a chance to do yet. Let me just quickly read it. Because I can boost stuff. So it's a skill check, right?
Yes.
I have rolled a natural 1.
Mm-hmm.
But I do get a heroic inspiration.
Yes, you do.
So I would like to re-roll that, if that's alright.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So heroic inspiration is basically if you've used 5e before, the DM can decide you get inspiration for this because it's something cool. At least that's what I've always done, that there was just a thing that was cool and it was like, okay, get inspired, have an inspiration ready, and everyone can have 1 max. However, for humans in 2024, they're called heroic inspiration, and you can use them to also re-roll. And humans in 2024 get a heroic inspiration every single day after a long rest.
Yeah. And to add to that, that specific heroic inspiration can be passed along. So if I gain a heroic inspiration, but I already have one, it's lost unless I give it to another player who lacks one.
Okay.
That would be a 23. That was a very well spent heroic inspiration.
Alright. The moment you touch the bench, you can once again see that blue hue, but this time coming off of your hands.
Out of the gloves?
Yeah, out of the gloves. And then it kind of wraps around the bench until you can see that it just becomes like it looks like it's supposed to be an illusionary type. And everything that is on that block has that blue hue, and you can see under that. And you're the only person that can currently see that this is all like an illusion. Our stone stairs going deeper and deeper down into the tunnels.
So if Una was to extend a hand to touch the bench, it would actually go through.
It goes through. And it's like you touch it and it takes a while before everything is like fully in that glow. And the moment it is, your hand indeed goes through it.
I think it would be fair to say that Una is just engrossed in this, unnaturally. And discovering that the hand is going through, she would just get up and without saying a word, walking down the stairs if she's able to.
Victor, Una is walking through a bench into the ground because you do not see this blue hue.
Hey, is she a ghost?
There's no reply.
Can I roll perception so that the illusion also breaks for me, or like that I can see through the
give me an
illusion?
Arcana check. I will do that with an Arcana check.
Where's my die? Uh-oh. Hang on, how much do I get for Arcana? You know what? I'm going to spend a fucking luck point to re-roll that fucking die.
Okay, cool. So, how are you, because you have a lucky feat, right?
I have a lucky feat, which means I get as many skill check I don't have the rules open. I can re-roll a d20 essentially.
Amazing.
Twice a day. This is less shit.
For any knowledge on feats remains to be seen. We might be doing a bonus content episodes about that, but that is for a couple weeks later. You'll know.
We call it only feats. So this is a 19 plus 3, so 22.
Yeah. Once you look at it, and then you're thinking, and then it's like there's a connection of like illusion, and you touch the bench, and you also can like go through that. And if Una would ever look up, you can see that the blue hue also goes like over the silhouette that is Viktor. In that case, Viktor does not see this, but yeah,
Una would look behind to check if Viktor is following. She didn't say anything, but and just quietly extend a hand to lead him down the stairs.
Oh, I'm going to take it.
Yeah, the blue hue then goes from your hand, from below your glove, goes over Viktor, and Viktor doesn't see that.
Like, just leading by the hand down the stairs.
Fantastic. How are the party people doing over on the other side after the 81 minutes? Because they will also be doing some walking throughout the tunnels.
We're vibing.
Okay. Well, first things first. Do you want us to roll for what we find out from the
Yes, I do. Give me an investigation check from both of you with advantage, because it's a 2 of you.
Bingo.
Shut the fuck up. Nat 20.
Nice! I got a 19 on the die, so that's a 22.
For people listening, Ro was taking the water break when the Nat 20 has been announced, and we nearly lost the DM.
This was a good recording session for you guys, for everyone knowing that, like, this is our second episode recorded today.
Yeah, this is great. Also, just throwing out there, so Corwin is looking specifically for information from French papers related to Aaliyah's disappearance, and also any information from London papers related to Kazor Fell's disappearance, who was the paladin who went missing from the Temple of Apollo.
Yeah, Josie is specifically looking at Johnny and Aaliyah, but just is in general really like trying to use them as a jumping off point to find anything about the other disappearances and find any kind of even really specious connection of something else that was happening at the same time that might appear unrelated, but that she thinks she could tie in, if that makes sense.
Smart.
Let's see how we could connect this all without, like, the thing is, we have all the newspapers, right? The newspapers would have started around, like, 3 weeks before this. So we're looking at, indeed, like, end September, start of October. Reminder, we are currently on the 22nd of October. And it started with the fell falling, basically. Mr. Kazor fell. And yeah, you can see indeed French papers. Do you speak French?
I do. Does Josie?
Nope.
Okay. So yeah, you can read that the place where she was staying at was also like fully investigated. There was no sign of her. They went past all of the she has made multiple locations. Like she helped design them. She was actually a part of designing the University of Paris, and you know that she contributed to not just the work, but also teachings at that school after that, after once it was constructed. And people have looked through the university, people have looked through every other shop that she has ever helped design in a way, and they say that there's not been a lot of, like, not a lot of signs, but like as in the shops that she designed seem to either not exist anymore or have no knowledge of where she would be in that case scenario. And currently the president of France, C.L. Greenaxe, who's also in the House of Six, has also taken upon this fact, has said publicly to the country that they are gonna be, if this takes longer than a month, to find them, that they were going to look into it with the House of Six, and that they would also, if necessary, get people from the First Void involved. And the people from the First Void are the bounty hunters from Athens. And they have said multiple times, I do not want to get bounty hunters involved because they are also actively kind of against bounty hunters. But that they are very much trying to find her because of the fact that she has meant quite a lot to the city. And I'm pretty sure, I think maybe Elliott even designed something maybe for the palace there. I think that would be, that would probably maybe even have been one of her last designs before you stopped having contact with her. That was Elliott, that was not even Khazar. Khazar fell. So, there's newspapers about the missing disappearances. However, Khazar has mostly been a kind of more of a missing note rather than a big headline. And the missing note kind of started appearing around 21st of September. And after a week or two, it wasn't even in the papers anymore. I think those are kind of the things that you can see on Khazar and Elliott. Who else? Because we have a natural 20 over there as well. Mm-hmm. This is going to be a lore dump.
I know, I'm loving it.
I love it.
I literally cracked my knuckles to get typing these notes. The president of France said that they might get the first void involved. Would the first void be where Isaiah is connected to the bounty hunters? Would it be through first void?
I think Isaiah would be more with the Rose, which are the bounty hunters in Berlin.
Okay, right. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
I think you would know this. The first void, like, Brian doesn't really speak too much about Safra and their story, but you do know that Brian and Safra and Nyx came from the first void before they got here. Anything else you guys wanted were looking for at that moment?
Josie was looking for anything relating to Johnny that we wouldn't have already found, and anything in general. What was the name of the prisoner from the Solar Bastion that disappeared?
Graham Gallagher.
Graham Gallagher's the other one. So those are really the two that she's looking for because they're also going to be in English. On top of that is looking specifically the way she's trying to track this research is trying to find things that are connected that don't necessarily seem connected. Other articles that are happening in the same day that aren't even about disappearances, but she's like, that's significant to this in some way. And for languages, just so you know, it's English, Swedish, Infernal, and Druidic.
What you can know with Johnny is most of the things you know about Johnny about Johnny's appearance you already know because that newspaper was flooding around in the past week. We've went through that a little bit. You can find a newspaper that was talking about the fact that he saved a man's life 5 years ago, and you can find Graham's stuff. He indeed got arrested about 10 years ago. And on the headline, I'll say there's also like this creepy picture of him being actually dragged out, and he has this huge grin on his face. And with a natural 20, I will say that you can see that he is not holding any type of card set. Possibly they have already taken it from him, but on the pictures you can't see that he's holding anything. And he seemed to have snuck in a way and gotten out and already alerted all of the alarms. He seemed to have actually injured at least 3 guards. And when they found him, it seemed to have been in kind of like this dingy bar that you can't really see if there's a name of the bar there, and that he was dragged out, but not in a way that he was protesting. It was more of the fact of like, all right, what are you gonna do with me now, aka smug bastard. And he has been in the Solar Bastion, which is for geographical sense, if you know I need to say this correctly, Mont Saint-Michel, which is this kind of small I was almost gonna say island. If you look it up on the maps, you'll find exactly what I'm looking at. It is just across the water from the kind of northwest of the country. And it is very located in its own space, and every single like even the there's a harbor there, so there's only access from water, and the kind of like an almost dirt and sand road is completely guarded by so many Solar Bastion guards. And if you're looking for like connections between them,
Real quick on Mont Saint-Michel and the Solar Bastion, are you effectively thinking that it's this universe is Alcatraz? Being from San Francisco, I'm well familiar.
I'm not too familiar with it.
The inaccessible and supposedly unescapable prison.
No, not really, because the place was never used as a prison until Graham.
Okay.
It is more the Solar Bastion. You have a natural 20. I'm just gonna yap literally everything that you want to know now. Here is the entire lore of the campaign. Campaign ends now.
Woohoo!
The Solar Bastion is mainly a research and holding cell for the powers that are within this card set. That is a deck of many things, plus a deck of many more things. If there's any type of information on research on Arcana and magical card sets, they would have it. They have their own library. They have their own, there's only a singular dome, which is used for, the guards and the people who lead. And under that is the prison where they keep Graham, or where they kept Graham. His disappearance started showing up, also 20th, 21st of September. Yeah, I think that is currently the most knowledge, and you wanted to see if you could find any connections. They have all happened to be reported in the past month. Same with if you're looking, the first reported stuff about, for example, Evelyn Beaulieu, the casino owner, also was around maybe 21st of September, kind of that timeline. And if you're thinking back on what Brian said about the 19th, if stuff had happened on the 19th, then it might have been reported a little bit later. But yeah, so that is the main connection that you can find from the people that were reported in it. And any type of connections you can't determine. It seems so specific, because breaking into, for example, the Solar Bastion and taking someone out of that, or Graham escaping himself, seems so highly unlikely without anyone noticing, because of the fact that they have guarded up the place even more after the incident. The connection is that these were at least people that were useful in a way. And with Graham, it is... Roll me an insight check before I say too much. To kind of see if you can, maybe the insight more for yourself, if you can connect the dots, basically.
13.
You have the question in mind that is, did Graham get this stuff for himself or for someone else? And you can't really determine with the amount of, the newspapers that you have, you can't determine which one it is.
That is a good lead to follow anyway, as an idea.
I think that was most of the lore.
That was an incredible lore dump. Good job.
Okay.
That info dump was more notes than I took for 3/4 of last episode. So,
yeah, no, I was...
That was amazing. Yeah, no, Joe was
so
handwriting furiously.
Well, this is going to be the entire episode. Next time, no.
Last thing I want to check here, because I think that you already answered this, but I really want to nail it down and make sure. From everything I can tell, obviously there's a limited amount that I can tell just from newspapers, but from everything that I can tell, you're saying these things all happened around the 19th and probably were a couple days out from reporting. Is there anything that would make me think that maybe something happened with Graham, whether it's the disappearance or something else, prior to the 19th, and maybe Do you know what I mean? Like maybe he went missing first and then everyone else, or just like there's something about him that was happening before that, because the Bastion is obviously not trying to let information out at all. But is there something more?
Give me an investigation roll on specifically Solar Bastion. How they handled him. This is the lore drop of the prologue.
13.
13? There aren't a lot of newspapers on what they exactly did in the Solar Bastion. They keep that very much to themselves. But what you can definitely see is that there have not been any new reports in newspapers about Graham's behavior or anything Solar Bastion related. It seemed to actually have been quite calm for the past 10 years.
Okay, that is relevant.
And if you don't mind, with all of the lore drop, I'm gonna move back to
Yeah, please.
the lads over there. Hello. So, you have been walking through the tunnels for a while. I'm gonna need a drink break at the end of this episode.
Any lore in the tunnels, dude? Is there like...
I mean, would it take us 81 minutes to get to the bench and then walk through the
Absolutely
tunnels? So we still have that. Also, I do want to say it out loud. I love how in session 2, episode 2, Una was like, oh, we got this person and this person. What did Graham do? And everyone was like, Una, shut up. This is not important right now. And I was like, me.
Una, my queen.
Oh, we love Una.
I do want to say, it's relevant to know that Josie was looking for those things because Una said that. Josie doesn't want to let on that she thinks the new person had the good idea, but is really doing that because of the connections you made and was trying to get you off it at the time, mostly because we can't answer that question sitting here in the Bounty Hunters. We need to go out and find stuff out. But this is very much Una's lead that Josie is following. Josie's not that smart.
I'm not upset or anything. I'm just pouting because I was like, session 2. Anyways. 81 minutes in the tunnel, hands. That's what I hear. We holding hands.
Oh no, you don't have dark vision, do you?
No. But do I actually need to see anything right now?
It is completely dark in the tunnels.
I don't even see the light?
Oh, no.
Yeah, you can see the blue hue.
I got you.
Yeah, Viktor? Did you want to add anything?
I have Devil's Sight. I can even see in magical darkness.
No, that makes sense. Because
I feel like that's the moment where, like, it shifts who's walking one step faster than the other. It's like, it's dark in here. Okay, let's...
So, can I say, if Viktor is taking the lead, absolutely welcome to. If you're expecting Una to be stumbling, she's not.
Oh, he did not expect her to stumble.
Fair enough.
He just saw you kill a guy. He understands.
And stab your boss.
Yeah. True.
Sorry.
Una, you follow the blue hue further and further into the tunnels, and Vic, give me a perception check.
I'm not good at those.
I would help if I could.
14.
You look at Una, and she is so focused to the point where you can notice that there is something. And for Una, it literally feels like that blue hue is shining off of your eyes into the distance, and you can see perfectly every single step you take. The blue hue that was first footsteps are now exactly where you put your feet, and it's like the blue hue flows under every single footstep. You walk on until there is a large wooden door with quite a sturdy lock on it. Give me an Arcana check.
Una or Vic? Because Vic is technically leading.
Both of you.
Oh. It is a 24.
8.
Vic, with the insane amount of joy where it's like, I'm gonna know more knowledge, I'm gonna know more stuff, wants to go to the door. And Una, you can see that there is kind of like this I'm gonna say it as it is because otherwise we're just gonna keep rolling, this abjuration magical sense coming off of it. And before Vic touches it, you can pull them back and be like, there's something here.
There's something here.
You know with the 24, with something like Arcane Lock or whatever, there is a set password for that.
Okay. Is it alright if Una kind of comes back too a little bit?
Absolutely. The moment you kind of come back to yourself, you're gonna have to, like, put a hand either on Vic or a wall to make sure that you kind of know where you are, because the moment that feeling is gone, everything's completely black.
That's fine. Then, I imagine they're still holding hands, so before Una comes back to, Vic would feel a little bit of a, like, harder squeeze on his hand. And Una would say, I think I don't have magic. I can't get rid of this in any way, but there might be a password involved. Not sure what it is.
You don't... I was about to ask, you don't happen to remember. Do you think the password is just admin?
Admin?
Or 1234? Password?
Just allow me a sec. And she would try to focus back.
You start focusing in on yourself. Give me a wisdom saving throw.
That would be a 16.
Alright, here we go. You say, hold on for a moment. And you snap back into that headspace that you were currently in, but this time it is much stronger. Like last time, it kind of was gradually taking over, like showing you around. Now when you're tapping back into it, it is like up, and the voices that you kept hearing start kind of piling up again. And as you speak, a language that you yourself do not recognize. Nor does Vic, but Vic can understand it nonetheless.
Seek the death that will remain. Seek the god below remains.
And the lock breaks, and Una completely comes back to herself. Probably has not even also noticed that she has just said something. And this voice was like, it was Una, but there was something like, there was almost an echo around it. And the door creaks and very slowly opens.
I just would like to add, there would have been like a vice, like grip on Vic's hand while all of this is happening. Like without noticing. What happened?
First of all, if you're trying to break my hand, you're very close to it. And secondly, what the fuck was that?
What was what?
Sweetheart, you are speaking in tongues.
I did not such thing. What tongues?
I wish I had a record. I'm not saying that. Would I know the language I heard? Because it's not specified in comprehend languages that you know what language is translated to you.
I don't think you'll know.
Okay.
Like, out of character, it is Ancient Draconic, but I don't... That's why I'm like, I
understood
think
that,
Vic
but that
would...
is the sole fucking reason I cast that spell.
I did not know you had it. I completely forgot, so yeah.
Yeah.
Good one on that.
No, Victor's going to be like, okay, I have no fucking idea. I know what you said because I used a spell so I can understand languages I usually can't understand. But you said something in the language I don't know. I don't think I've heard it before. And I relay what Una just said because I don't quite know if she remembers.
No, like Una would probably butt in every now and then and be like, no, I did not. Like, what? If Vic is saying the sentence back in common, does Una recognize the sentence back in common?
You recognize it, but you can't really determine what from.
Okay.
You recognize the sentence and you once again have that feeling of, I know this. Why do I know it?
No, that doesn't matter. We should probably just...
Yes, I think we should just... I mean, the door opened, so whatever you did, good job.
By all means. It's just...
I go first.
I don't go first.
You go through the door and there are stairs leading up, and once again there is this time a statue where you can, if you walk up, you can walk through the illusion that is the statue. And this is the exact same shape that, well, from the outside looked like Radcam. And it's funny that around the walls is this scaly looking swirl upwards as you go all the way to the top, and from the top is this large draconic mouth open, looking down onto the center of the area. And the moment you get inside, it's as bluish lights come up through lanterns. 4 of them throughout the space, and then 2 more up. And then the eyes that are in this draconic thing are shine blue. As you guys are in the Radcam library, and it is just, on most of the books, are Black Ram sigils. I think this is the perfect moment where we end this lore episode.
Oh my
and what
God.
happens with this, we'll see next week. What happens with the Protectors also happens next week. Because when you're listening to this, it's Sunday. You'll hear it on Thursday. And, well, the next things remain to be seen, I suppose. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Remains to be Seen is an original podcast created by Dyaflame Studios and licensed under the Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 4.0 International License. Today's episode was produced by Anusia Battersby and edited by Rover, Elliott, and Joe Mendacium. It starred Elizabeth Simpson as Corwin Duvall, Joe Mendacium as Viktor Valthayne, Annie Ruby as Josie, Mirah Fae as Una, and Rover Elliott as a Dungeon Master. The intro and outro were composed by We Talk of Dreams, and a transcript was written by Elizabeth Simpson. To get in touch with us and keep up to date with our antics, follow us on Instagram, Bluesky, and TikTok at Dyaflame Studios, or view our website at dyaflame.com. Check out our show notes for additional credits, links, and transcripts.